Hi, it's Natalie, the modern hippie mama. Welcome to Nourishment for Your Soul. This video is about prenatal. So any modifications that you might want to implement into your yoga practice if you become pregnant along your journey. Now, if you have never done yoga before and you are pregnant and just embarking on this yoga journey during your prenatal time of your life, first make sure that you are connected with your doctor and they are aware of your situation and get their advice. Because if you've never practiced any kind of yoga or Pilates or exercised consistently, when you are pregnant is not really the time to first start a new exercise regime. With that being said, there are plenty of safe poses, plenty of safe exercises that you can do during your prenatal experience. You just don't want to go overboard, right? So this isn't the time where we should be training for a triathlon or going to a trampoline park or doing things like this. We want to make sure that we are honoring and respecting our body during this very sacred time, and that we are understanding that, okay, this is a transition in our life, and we want to recognize that there is an opportunity to strengthen and to support yourself during a pregnancy. You just want to make sure that, as always, it's safety first. So with that being said, again, I am not a doctor, and this is just general advice that one could receive with love. I'm going to give you some things that we should definitely avoid when pregnant, and some tips to help you strengthen or to, again, modify, kind of individualize your yoga practice. Now, if you have been practicing yoga for a very long time, it is encouraged that you, as long as there are no complications or you're not at risk, to continue with your yoga practice. I have gone through 2 pregnancies and practiced yoga throughout both of those pregnancies, all the way up until my water broke. So it is possible to do that. But again, always having to listen to your body and to understand that some days you're going to feel a little bit more like, committing to a yoga practice, and other days you're going to just feel like sitting on the couch, and that's okay too. So just learning how to be a little more gentle and compassionate with yourself during this time is a key to your personal success. So some things that we're definitely going to avoid when pregnant. So for the first 3 months, it will be okay for you to go into a belly down, so a supine type of position. So we're talking anything that's going to be on the belly. It could be a baby cobra, it could be a full cobra, or going into Urdhva Mukha Savasana, into that upward facing dog position. Anything that's on the belly, bending knees, hands to the heels, lifting up, those types of things we are generally going to avoid during our pregnancy. But if you don't start showing, if this is your first pregnancy and you don't start showing in those first 3 months and it's comfortable for you, then you can go on your belly for a shorter period of time. It's not something that I would say, do a consistent series of supine exercises during pregnancy. Not the greatest idea. With that being said, there's plenty of ways for you to modify those, and we'll get to that in just a moment. So what you're going to avoid are belly down poses, right? You're going to avoid lying on your back, those supine poses, for an extended period of time. Again, we're talking, usually this is going to be 2nd and 3rd trimester, that you just don't want to lay on your back for an extended period of time. If you wanted to do a few shoulder bridges during that 2nd and 3rd trimester, just to kind of open up these hips a little bit more, a few of them would be fine. Now, coming out of that supine position, if you're used to just rolling up, we are not going to do that. Instead, you would just roll to the side and gently push yourself up to a seated position. So again, supine and prone, laying down on the back and laying down on the belly for extended period of time, not a great idea. So if you're laying on your back, one also could just remind you that doing any sort of abdominal work is also something to avoid. So you're not going to do crunches. We don't want to crunch in to this sacred womb area, right? We want to just let it go, let it breathe, allow it to create the room that it needs to without trying to hinder that. You would also want to avoid twisting poses, extreme twisting. So we wouldn't go here, right? Because we would be twisting too much in towards the belly. I'm going to do the other side just to even myself out. Felt a nice little crack there. So you're not going to want to do those extreme twisting poses. Now, could you do a mild twist if you were seated in Sukhasana and just wanted to turn slightly? Absolutely. A lot of this is going to be about you listening to your body and having that open communication where you start to feel a sensation or you're getting a cue or signal from your body. Make sure that you are paying attention to that. So if you're turning, you're in rotation and you're breathing and it feels nice for you, great. You start to go a little too far, your body's going to tell you right away. So you do want to have this hyper awareness of what's going on in your body throughout your entire pregnancy. You are creating life, you are holding life in your womb inside of you, and you want to make sure that you have this mutual respect both for your body and for the baby inside of you. So again, we're going to avoid those belly down, we're going to avoid on the back for extended period of time, avoid the extreme twisting. Let's see, so the shoulder bridge, the mini shoulder bridges would be great. You are going to avoid a full back bend. So you're not going to go into this extreme extension where the belly is just exposed upward, especially the second, third trimester when you're starting to get bigger, when the belly is starting to grow a lot more forward. And for some of us, a little more out as well. We definitely want to avoid hot yoga. Hot yoga is a wonderful practice. It's a great way to detoxify. It is way too intense for a woman during her pregnancy journey. Additionally, inversions. So when we go into a down dog position, while this may be okay for 1 or 2 breaths, you are going to want to come down into tabletop and most likely go into some cat and cows, which feels really delicious when you have a pregnant belly. So if you are practicing in an unheated room, right? If you're practicing yoga, you're going to a regular yoga class, not one that's specifically geared to prenatal. You're going to have to know how to modify within your own body. And of course, you'll let the instructor know so that they can also help you. You definitely, even if you're in those first 3 months and you're not ready to tell the world yet, you do want to make sure that you're privately informing your instructor so that they can be aware and they can assist and help you. So there was something else that I wanted to say about that. I will, I'm sure, get back to it. So if you are attending a regular class, not a specific prenatal yoga practice, then we are going to figure out ways that you can individualize and cater your practice to support the pregnant body. As your belly gets bigger, you will notice that sitting in a simple Sukhasana position, as the belly starts to get bigger and bigger and it starts to rest on your legs, it's not going to be the most comfortable. So having a block with you, it will definitely be one of your key tools. You sit on the block, placing it underneath the sits bones comfortably. And what that does is automatically it's going to lift our hips so that they are higher than your knees. And as soon as you do that, then as that belly starts to grow, you have more room. And that lengthened spine is going to be key. I remember what I was going to say. So as your pregnancy progresses, what happens is the tendons and the joints start to become much more malleable, much more flexible. So you may notice that you have this improved flexibility and it feels so good to go in there. But you have to have that awareness of, okay, even though my body is able to go further and I'm able to feel like I'm more flexible, you want to back off a little bit. Don't go to that full extreme of flexibility because it can place too much pressure there. And what we're trying to do is to support our body throughout this process so our body feels wonderful, so that our body feels strong and flexible, and is ready for that time when it's labor and delivery, and of course for that postpartum healing time. So just having that awareness, that consciousness, that mindfulness, listen to your body, know in your logical mind, hey, I know that it's going to feel like I can be more flexible or I can go deeper in certain poses, but I'm not going to go to the fullest because I recognize that that's not the safety way for me today. Okay? So again, sitting on this block is going to be fantastic as the belly gets a little bit bigger. With that being said, we oftentimes in a yoga class will go into a parallel position and maybe hinge forward. And while the belly is still small, you may be able to do this. As the belly gets a little bit larger, opening the legs and then opening the legs and opening the legs wider and wider as that belly gets bigger and bigger will definitely serve you well. And see, notice that I'm still on this block, because if we're in external rotation, our hips are raised by sitting on this block, and we have our belly coming forward is going to be a lot more comfortable for you in all of those areas. And then you're feeling it in your hamstrings, you're opening up the hips, you're receiving a lot of benefits. You're just learning how to modify for this particular time in your life. Now, if you are a practiced yogi, you are a practitioner of yoga for many years, and perhaps this transition in your life is a little more difficult for you mentally because you're not used to watching your body change so dramatically. I completely understand. 100% I understand. So this is when we have to practice the limbs that are not on the mat. We have to practice that compassion with ourselves. Ahimsa, the first yama, no harm, right? We want to make sure that we're not being violent or negative with ourselves inside our head, and that, again, that we are respecting this process and knowing that it's just temporary. It's one temporary point in our life, and it is a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful experience. So enjoy it. All right, so we've got this trusty block. We can use it, like I said, for the Sukhasana position, for that open straddle. You could also use it in a butterfly position. So if the class is going into Supta Baddha Konasana, which is when you're laying on your back in butterfly, if you don't want to do that second, third trimester, just come to the seated position. You will receive all of that love in the hip area. It will feel so, so good. You can also use your block for Malasana Garland. So if you're in a squat, or if the class is in a yogi squat, and this could be too much for you because, again, that hyperflexibility during pregnancy might trick you into believing that you can go lower. I do remember when I was pregnant with my first son that I was teaching a ballet bar class, and I was low, and my balance was totally off. I didn't even realize how much the balance is thrown off because of this belly, and my belly was very large, and I fell, and it could have been dangerous. So you want to really, again, practice that safety first mentality. So what you could do is either, heel toe the feet in like I just did. You would come down and just rest on this block. It feels so good. So you could come to this Malasana Garland position, having the arms in prayer, and just hanging out here would be wonderful for you. That would serve you well. All right, so block, definitely a very great option, a nice tool for you to bring with you to a class. As I mentioned before, on the knees, cat and cow feels so delicious. Standing or being in inversion for an extended period of time is not great for the blood pressure. And so if you are going to go into a down dog or any sort of forward fold, make sure that you're not there for too long, and that when you are there, that you are breathing very deeply, and that you're coming up very slowly. So as an example, if we walk the feet towards the hands, here we are in our forward fold. Instead of just sweeping the arms and coming all the way up, you would instead bend your knees, take your hands to your hips, and slow motion. So that's the key cue there, slow motion so that blood pressure can regulate. You come up to standing and then release the arms down. Now, most standing poses are going to be great for you. So you can do your warrior one, making sure that shoulders and hips are square. You may not be able to go quite as low as you once could prenatal. So you will just shorten that space here. Warrior two, a great option. If the belly becomes too heavy, you just hold the belly here. Challenging the legs is a wonderful thing. Or arms out to the side. Now, I did mention that when I was teaching that ballet bar class and I fell, reminder, all balancing poses, even with the feet flat on the ground, are going to be a little tricky. Your balance is going to get thrown off as that belly gets bigger and bigger. So what would be great is if you are in that class, right, you're in your regular yoga studio, go towards the wall. So we use the wall, and if you haven't seen the balance video, check that one out. But if you go towards the wall, then you can use that wall as a support system for you. And tree, if you're usually placing that leg right above the knee, maybe for your pregnancy journey, what you're doing is just keeping the foot on the ground, both feet on the ground, so you have more stability. So using that wall, or if you have a chair, use the back of the chair, just to help you with your balancing poses. So again, it's important that you just release some of your control over your regular practice and embrace this journey and utilize different tools and tips in order for you to be able to continue practicing yoga throughout your pregnancy. So we would, of course, avoid headstands and handstands as well. I hope that goes without saying, but you never know. All right, so we've got our knees down poses. As mentioned, cat-cow feels really delicious. You go into a dancing lion, which also is going to feel really wonderful, moving circular in both directions. Can feel really delicious. From here, coming into, let's say, a diamond's hero. So if you're utilizing the videos on the Nourishment for Your Soul package, and you want to continue doing that, watch this video, apply the tips and tools to those practices, and then you should be feeling great. Again, you are the expert on your body. You are the expert on your body when you are listening to it. So listen to the whispers so they don't turn into screams. So this Diamond's Hero position should be wonderful for you, getting into the bottoms of the feet, into that plantar fascia to help everything else unwind from the toes all the way up to the crown of the head. From here, if you wanted to go, let's say, into this Pashupati position, keep the fingers down. No need to bring hands to prayer or to here. Keep the fingers down. And if you have that block, you could keep the block in front of you so that the hands can rest on it. And you just work on your back tall. But be very mindful of these balancing poses. So from a Diamond's Hero, if we went into that forward fold, again, remember, hands to hips, coming all the way up, super slow motion. This position of on the mount, standing on the top of the mountain pose, is wonderful. Know that as soon as you close your eyes, it is going to challenge the balance. So that hand on the wall, or just having that support, that comfort next to you, is going to be very helpful. Additionally, when we go into plank, as the belly gets bigger, that second, third trimester, and if this is your second or third or fourth baby, maybe this is your first trimester when the belly really is starting to show already, the heavier the belly is, the more weight it's pulling on that lower back here. So imagine, right, you've got a belly that's pulling you down. It's not the greatest idea. So just lower the knees for plank, shifting pelvis slightly forward, and hang out here. Let this be your new plank position for during that pregnancy time. And when people, again, are going to lower down to that belly all the way, what you can do is just hold that tricep, that chaturanga hold, working the triceps, and then push yourself up, meeting them wherever the next pose in that series may go. For half moon, just placing the knee down instead of having this standing leg, the foot on the ground, right here, reaching arm up, that feels so delicious. Just breathing and allowing this belly the room to breathe without feeling crunched or pressured or having that extra weight. And of course, anything we do to one side, we're going to do on the other side. Even if I don't do it in the video, you're going to make sure that you're doing that at home. All right. So I think that has gotten into the majority of what we should avoid, tips to help modify each of the poses. Generally, at the end of a practice, we also roll over to the right side. Now, as you progress month to month, from trimester to trimester, it is safer to roll over to the left side of your mat. So even though the instructor might say roll over to the right side of the mat at the end of practice, you just roll over to the left side, supporting the flow of the blood to the heart for you and baby. So I do hope that that was helpful, those little tips and things to avoid and to modify. Thank you for taking the time to watch this, and congratulations on your pregnancy journey. I wish you a wonderful, easy experience, and I hope that the labor and delivery is also wonderful, easy, and graceful. If you have not yet read my book, this would be the perfect time to pick it up. On Amazon, it's available in Kindle, in paperback, and in audio. The audio is especially powerful because we have frequency-infused music, courtesy of my dear friends Kathleen Hayden and John Anthony with Good Vibrations Music Co. They are the pioneers in frequency-infused music, and what that means is that the vibrations from the sounds actually affect us on a cellular level. And this was the background music to the narration of our audiobook that I narrated, as well as my beautiful co-author, Lindsay Ambrose. And in the back, as I said, the background music is this frequency-infused, safe and sound track, which allows you to feel, literally, you will be listening to the book and listening to the music, and you will start to feel so much more relaxed. It's very powerful. So you can find that on Amazon. And if you need anything at all, reach out. Good luck. Let's bring hands to heart center, elbows wide to the side. Closing the eyes, just take 3 deep breaths in through the nose. Exhaling out of the mouth. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale. Let's do one more like that. Inhale. Exhale. Gently bowing the head forward. Thank you for allowing me to guide you on this tips and tools for your prenatal journey with yoga. I hope you found what you were looking for. Peace, love, and all that jazz. Namaste.